Hey Corey, how's it going, man?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from our last time talking, we were just kind of evaluating how things have been going, and it just sounded like you were just feeling like this time was unique in your week, where you could share your kind of your thoughts, process a little,
Mm-hmm.
and really go back into your week with a little fresher perspective. I
Yeah.
just wanted to see if you had any more um, um, thoughts about, you know, where you are right now in our time
Mm-hmm.
of therapy, and just see what you would like to kind of take this night tonight.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much it right there. Like it is a definitely good kind of break from the week, and also like just able to get stuff off my chest and kind of like stuff that's been weighing me down, like burdens or whatever it might be, and like come here this time is just being able to get that off and like okay, now I can breathe again. So that's kind of the sense that I get like each time after we get done with this, like whether it has been a rough week or even good weeks, there's still some agitation just with generality in life, and just be able to talk about that and to be able to verbalize it, put words to frustrations, put words to anxiety, put words to life. Yeah, I feel like it just kind of relieves the burden and allows me to breathe again for the week. So yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It's kind of been that's how it goes for me.
Like a little reset for the week.
Yeah. Yep. Say that.
That's good. So how are you doing this week?
um, yeah, it's been rough.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't think I realized how rough it was until tonight. Like just kind of reflecting back on the week, and yeah, it, um, my wife got news of losing her job, and like it shouldn't be. I kind of feel like it shouldn't be that big of a deal
Mm.
because like it happens, like it's life, But you hear stories of it happening to people. I mean, I've been laid off a couple times myself, um, but it's just been me. Like I was single at the time, so I'm like, I don't care. It's just me. I can find a job. Like it doesn't really matter. Like with one of them, I had severance pay for 6 months. I went and found another job. So I had 2 paychecks for 6. It was great. Like whatever. It happened. Like it was just me. Um, but this time it was different because it was totally unexpected. It came at a point where her job wanted her to take on more responsibilities and gain more hours. And like, they kept on talking about this week after week after week, like, hey, we want you to do this, we want you to do this. Like, we love what you've been doing with that. Like, it's totally helped. Like, it's been a huge benefit to the company. And the next week, hey, yeah, no,
Mm.
and so it's not happening to me, like if it was happening to me, I think it would be one thing. Like I could just kind of like whatever, but it's happening to my wife, and see her hurting because of that. And then, of course, my mind jumps to all sorts of different scenarios of, am I going to have to quit school? Are we going to even have money for rent? I have 2 small kids at home. One of them is already eating this out of the house.
Mm.
And am I going to have food for my kids? Like, just all this, like, kind of doomsday scenario. Like, those were the first things that popped in my head.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like, so it was Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon that she got word of that. And she was working, so I just took the kids for a walk. And then she sent me a text, like, hey, where you at? Like, I just got the phone with my boss. It was a really crappy conversation. I was like, oh no, and just totally out of the blue. And I don't know, I didn't end up going to bed until like 2 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
And then the next night it was again 2 o'clock in the morning until I was my mind would just
Mm.
stop and let me sleep, and so, like trying to deal with my own emotions and trying to process with her at the same time, like, yeah, it was rough. Um, I mean, there were some good conversations
Mhm.
within the week. There was definitely some good conversations with a few different friends. Like, there is hope within this. Um, so it's good to have those conversations.
Yeah.
So it wasn't all doomsday prepping or anything like that. It was definitely a little bit refreshing to hear those types of comments of like, you know, in these instances in the past, like stuff has happened. You've been taken care of. God has provided, or other people have, like, hey, how can we help? And like, we just need this. Like, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it was rough. And then past couple nights, my daughter Zoe is whew, just yeah, not sleeping, and she's a total bear for the entire day, just because she's not resting at night. And then we go to put her down for a nap, and she throws a fit, and she acts like she's wide awake. And I'm like, dude, I know you're exhausted. Go to sleep. Like, just it's not like I'm trying to torture you with bedtime. Like, this is what's best for you, child. And she's not. And then like she goes to bed, and then she wakes up, and then she pukes because she's so upset, and then she's up, and then it's just a vicious cycle. And then if we're not sleeping, I'm short with my kids, I'm short with my wife, I'm exhausted at class, and it just kind of adds on to like, oh no, life is really coming to an end at this point. So that was this past week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard.
That sounds very heavy.
Yeah.
All at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just taking a deep breath for you right now.
Thanks.
With you, really.
Yeah.
You mentioned how just rough this week has been, and it sounds like one of the kind of themes throughout it has just been loss, things being taken away, job being taken away, your sleep being taken away, your control kind of being taken away.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's accurate?
Yeah, especially that last part. I'm kind of a control freak.
Mm.
And I'm totally not in control of this.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to... I mean, on top of that, it's my wife's job, so I'm really not in control.
It's out of your hands.
And that's hard.
Mm.
With schooling, I decided to quit my job and go back to school. Each time Aaron and I have moved, we've decided to give something up and to take on something else.
Yeah.
But this time, it's not our choice. It's being taken away from us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the hard part to handle. Was it? Yeah, everything about it, like I had no control over.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I see how you feel, even just anxious about that. If like you said, you've experienced what it's like to have lost your job in the past and kind of roll with the punches, but now it's not even you losing your job.
Yeah.
But it's outside of you, and it's I mean, how do you just identify how this is impacting you right now? You mentioned not having sleep impacting your shortness. How does having things outside of your control impact you as a person?
It's a little stressful, but at the same time, this is like two total opposites.
Mm-hmm.
It's stressful, and at the same time, it's almost freeing.
Okay.
Like, oddly enough, and I was talking to somebody about it the other day. I'm like, I'm a little pissed, but at the same time, like, well, each time God has provided something different, and actually something better. And so when I say like, it's stressful, like I'm angry, that's where the stress is coming from.
Yeah.
When I say like it's freeing, like that's the aspect of it being freeing, is that if this really is out of my control, if this is one of those things that God's like, hey, I'm going to remove this from you because I have something better for you, like that's the freeing aspect of it. So the thing I've been playing with all week long is, which part of my mind do I let control me?
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of feel like I've let the stress of the situation control me a little too much this week. Like this Monday was our son's one year birthday. I really wanted to celebrate. Like I'm one of those dads that I get to stay at home with him, so I feel like it's a little extra special. Like just like he's my boy, like he's my only boy, and on top of that, dude, he looks just like me. Like it's creepy, and so I really, really, really wanted to. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to celebrate. Because I was placing myself too much in the anger and the stress rather than allowing myself to be free and just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
So I would like to be here,
Yeah.
but I'm here still. And that transition from stress to freedom is a little daunting right now.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like there's an aspect like, well, if I'm stressed out and angry about it, I can blame somebody. Like I can be pissed about it. I feel like I'm justified in that anger. But if I'm, if I move to the other aspect of like, hey, God will take care of this, it's scary. Because I kind of feel like, well, there's this expectation of like when somebody loses a job, like, well, yeah, you're pissed about it. Like you set a plan and you just kind of plow through it. But I really want to be over here where I'm like, I don't have to plow through anything. Like I can just allow God to do what He wants to do and be okay with that, whether there's an answer for it or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy this week of stress, freedom, anger, or just being okay.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a mix of emotions based on, because there's some unknown factors coming up.
Yeah.
So if what's the where do you go from here? Like you mentioned that this last week was one side of your brain where it was a little sticky with the wanting to plow through and figure it out and have a plan, and it seemed like it took away a little bit from the celebration you wanted to be able to engage in. And then going into this week with that in mind, what do you think about this week will change the way you think? Or maybe asking a better question.
Do
you understand what I'm saying?
I do. Oddly enough, yeah, I do. No, that's the question I needed to hear. But yeah, no, you hit it on the head. Like I kind of get the sense like you're saying like this is ruining your life. Like why aren't you choosing this? Like without saying that, like that's in a good way. That's what I'm hearing. Like I need to choose this aspect of living, and I know how, and I can. So why don't I just do it? I think that will. Yeah. Just being able to focus on that rather like focus on the freedom and the joy of still being taken care of.
Yeah.
Still have a house. And I will continue to have one, and yeah, it'll be okay.
Yeah. I think that that's really, really cool how you kind of just now process in the moment, like, yes, this is what I needed to hear. And it sounds like when you said that, it was also kind of a realization that this is something you can control. is an aspect of
Yeah.
the grand situation that you have a choice in the matter.
Yeah.
How does that feel when you realize that you have some choice?
Yeah. There's even, yeah. I'm not sure how to verbalize it, but that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
There is even, not that I, yeah, there's control within the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a good way of picturing it.
And I can feel the anxiety sometimes when just at different points when you're talking a little bit, just from all the times we've talked so far, that there's this question in your mind of, did I make the right choice?
Yeah.
I left my job. I'm in the city. There are challenges, and I've put my wife in a position where now she's lost her job. How much of that fuller picture of yours, like personal decision making, do you feel comes into question at this point? Do you feel like that comes into the question or the picture at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Because, like, this was a choice that I made to go back to school. But it wasn't something that I made lightly. It was something that my wife and I have been actually talking about for about 3 years.
Okay.
Of, like, hey, this is what I want to do. How to make this work? Can it work? And if it does work, how are we going to do this? Mm-hmm. And so, in that 3-year process, we, last fall kind of came, or actually the end of last summer kind of came to that point of like, this is the time. You need to do it, and this is the sacrifice we'll make, and let's just go ahead and do it. So, do I feel any pressure that she lost her job and I've made the decision to go back to school? Like, no, there's not really that, because we made this decision together. Mm-hmm. I think the hurtful part for me is that it's happening to my wife, and I'm protective of my wife. Like somebody wrongs her, like I'm like, hey, listen, dude, that was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
The hell, man. It's my wife. You're doing that too, and so it's just, I think that's part of where the anger came from, and yeah. So
yeah,
it wasn't so much like I'm in school, like she has to figure it all out. No, we walked through this together.
Yeah.
So
good.
it's just more. I think you kind of hit it on the head earlier when it was just like, you've made the choice to be stressed out. You can also make the choice to be free. And so I think that was I think that's what it was for me tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just kind of coming to the end of our time tonight. Is there anything else that, just as we process for next week and prepare, is there anything that you've been wanting out of our time together that you would think you'd benefit from, that we haven't been able to cover, or that you would provide any sort of suggestions for improving our time together?
Not really. Like, for me, this time of just being able to verbally process life is kind of just what I need. As we kind of mentioned last week, that 2-week break was a little bit rough because it wasn't somebody to vent the frustrations to. And so, kind of just like where it is, like able to come in and process life, and in those moments where you give me a good picture of like choices, like those pictures that you present stick in my head when we're like one of the first few weeks of like just reacting to my kids. I still go back to that even now. So yeah, it's I kind of like the path that we're on. It definitely helps.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, anytime you want to make any suggestions, this is about you, and then we would definitely want to, learn as much from you as I can about how to best, support you. So,
cool.
Yep. Doors open.
All right.
Thank you.
Whoa.